We are back to level 3 of the COVID-19 lockdown from midnight. That's as the number of cases continues to increase daily. Let's get more reaction on the new restrictions announced by President Cyril Ramaphosa earlier on tonight. UKZN's Mosa Moshabela joins us live. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it. So the president has put in new measures to try to curb the spread of this new wave we're in, and it's wave 3. Do you think it's going to work?
Shane, greetings to you and the viewers. I'm hopeful that it would work, it can work, but I am a little bit concerned because I think that, a lot of our ideas around what is likely to work are based on past experience. But I'm getting a sense that at the moment, a lot of people are sort of desensitized to what is happening currently in terms of the waves until people are personally affected. Unlike previously, previously people were sort of much more conscientized and responsive. So the kind of restrictions we have currently, I would imagine that in the second wave, for example, people could have responded more eagerly to them than they would now. I would hope that even with these restrictions that we have, people can see them as more enabling rather than the kind of restrictions that are meant to enforce restrictions of movement. Then people can use them to basically restrict their own movements.
Yeah, the president did mention that it was a balancing act here, isn't it? Because we can't get to a point where the economy is so largely affected that we are back to a point where more jobs are being lost, etc. But let me pick your brain on the vaccination rollout. I just spoke to the DA's John Steenhuisen, who says that it's far from perfect, that we're nowhere close to where we should be. And the fact that there are many African countries vaccinating more people is quite worrying, given South Africa's stance on the continent. We're supposed to be the leaders, so to speak. Clearly, we're not when it comes to the vaccine rollout. But the president seems to be satisfied.
Yeah. So I think in terms of the comparison with other African countries, I would say that really the country that's doing much better than South Africa at the moment is Morocco. Other countries, I think that they're just as struggling as we are, and they are not really far ahead of us. And in as much as, I don't really see it as a race per se, but I do think that South Africa has a lot more capacity and to actually vaccinate more. We have had a combination of both unfortunate events beyond the control of government, and we've also had incidents that, I believe could have been avoided, such that we would have vaccinated a lot more people now. So for me, I actually try and think of it more in terms of, given our own context, what is it that would have been ideal, regardless of where other African countries are. And what would have been ideal for South Africa would have been that when the third wave hits now, as we are in it now, that all the people that have risk factors for severe disease and death are vaccinated. That would have been ideal. We've seen that we've done quite a bit of work there with healthcare workers, which is why now the president can basically come out and share the positive news that of the numbers that we saw in the second wave, now we are only seeing 10% of that compared to the second wave amongst healthcare workers because of vaccination. We should have been saying the same thing about other people who are at risk of severe disease and death. That would have been my measure, Shehan, rather than comparing to other countries and so forth.
The reason I'm comparing it to other countries, like many other people are, is because, as you say, we have proper measures in place to bring vaccines into the country compared to other African countries. We have more money. Our economy has more money than those other African countries to have procured vaccines. It is a race, not against the other countries, but it's a race to save lives. Because, as you're seeing, 208 people have died in the past 24 hours of COVID-19. And the fewer people we vaccinate daily means the risk of more people dying is a huge reality, isn't it?
Yeah, so I would agree with you that it's a metric we have to monitor. That I accept. I think that it's something that it's good to know. We need to look at the trends. We need to compare ourselves to our peers and also keep monitoring what's happening in the rest of Africa, of course. But in a way, if you think about it, if we go back, what this has done is that compared to other African countries, we have become victims of our own success in the sense that we have very strong surveillance mechanisms, including genomic surveillance, and we were able to pick up problems with variants and the problem with AstraZeneca. We needed to now shift our strategy. And even in the context of all of that, I think we pulled out Sisonke study out of the hat, basically, and we were able to make some progress there. But I think that other countries are using Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, and they may not necessarily have the kind of surveillance that we have in South Africa, that if they did have, they may also have decided to go a different route. So I just want to put it in context, not necessarily to defend our sort of dismal progress so far, which, of course, as I said, I really think that we should have been ahead of where we are currently. But really put it in context of the other strengths that we have that in themselves have hindered our progress. You see what I mean? Yeah. It's almost like it's counterintuitive, but actually, it's actually a good thing. What we need to do is to make sure that we use those strengths to work in our favor rather than hold us back.
All right, I get you. Thank you so much for your time and your insight. We appreciate it. That was UKZN's Musa Mashabela.